I am Raziel.
What's up, guys? Raziel here, and today's a little bit of an off-the-cuff video. The reason why I'm making this video is because I've received quite a few emails, a couple messages on, and quite a few inquiries during my streams about this topic. As we all know, there's been a huge fiasco about the gaming industry ever since the fucking nightmare catastrophe that is and was Blizzcon and Activision Blizzard's, Diablo Immortal announcement and everything. And the internet's been in a huge uprage. Activision Blizzard stock has been dropping like a rock, as it should. But that's not what this video is necessarily about. I wanted to talk a bit and give my opinion. This is going to be my last video on this subject, by the way, because we got Final Fantasy XIV's Fan Fest coming up next week, Friday. We'll most likely get the reveal for the next Final Fantasy XIV expansion. Of course, I'll be covering that, every aspect of that, both on my stream and here on my YouTube channel. But what I wanted to make this video about is the backlash that gamers got from video game journalists because they were disappointed and they were upset with the direction the company and their beloved franchise was going in. And so I just wanted to talk about this for a quick minute. This video is not scripted. I'm just going off the top of my head. So I don't know how long it'll be. It may be another one where you just sit back, turn the volume up, and listen, or it may be short. Who knows? But it's kind of funny how if any of you have ever watched any of my YouTube videos or been in on one of my streams, you'll know that I am probably the least politically correct person, one of them anyway, and I think social justice warrior crap is fucking stupid. I don't really want to talk. I hate talking about politics because I think they have no place. Like, what's going on in the world as far as government and all that shit has no place in gaming. However, the far left seems to love to try to inject themselves in everything. They've done it with Hollywood. They've done it with pretty much every business model everywhere. And the funny thing is as they've tried to do it with gaming, it keeps blowing up in their fucking face. And then they, go to their go-to. They probably have a fucking keyboard with macros built in that say things like toxic masculinity and say things like, you're a Nazi and you're racist and you're sexist and you're this and you're that. They just name call because, guys, video and it's absorbed itself into video game journalism, and they're just NPCs, guys. 99% of video game journalists, and I'm not talking about YouTube content creators that report on games. I'm talking about self-proclaimed people getting paid to write articles about a video game. They're NPCs, because most of them, if not all of them, but I'm sure not all of them, but most of them flat out don't know shit about video games, don't know shit about the video game industry, suck at every game they review. I mean, just look at recent games released in the past that got great roaring reviews by these people when they were first released because they're clearly paid off to do that, or they're getting a buck from the developer, or just to review the game and say it's good. Destiny 2 is a good example, right? When it released, it got very high ratings, yet when a game has like an 8.5 or a 9 on Metacritic, but then the users give it like a 3, 2.5, 3, 3.5, you know that there's some bullshit going on. But they're just NPCs at this point, and as we know, all games need NPCs. And video game journalists these days are the NPCs of the game industry right now. They're yes man. They sit there and they say what gets them money. And again, like most people, they're just looking out for their own livelihood. But it's fucking sad how the majority of these pussy ass soy boy fucking far leftists are just trying to shove their way into the industry and buying out and implanting themselves in game journalism. And every time the left has tried to do something like this, it's blown up in their face. I mean, when they tried to make Battlefield politically correct, it blew up in their face to the point to where EA had to backtrack and not release the game right away. It blew up in their face for Call of Duty World War II, and they tried to make that politically correct. It affected their sales dramatically. And now, we have articles like the ones you see now on the screen I'm putting up, where these bitches are just calling gamers toxic and saying it's because you hate women. How is that even fucking relevant? Like, a game you've been playing on PC or a specific platform for 2 decades suddenly gets shoved onto a platform you're not interested in, and just because that platform that they're shoving it into, their main reason Blizzard's doing that with Diablo Immortal is to get revenue from China, but because statistically speaking, more women play games on mobile than men do. They see that as an opportunity. Oh, it's because you hate women. You don't want women to play games. No one gives a shit. I don't know a single gamer that gives a fuck what gender you are if you play a video game. What matters to them is if you're in their party, are you good or are you not good? Your gender is irrelevant. And the more the merrier for the most part, especially in multiplayer games. And it's just ridiculous. And I love nothing more than seeing these companies, their games fail, their stocks drop when they try to pander to social justice warriors, and they try to pander to people who, quite frankly, don't know jack fucking diddly shit about video games or what gamers want. Gamers are upset about Diablo Immortal and about microtransactions and all this stuff because it takes advantage of them and it doesn't give them what they want. People go, oh, you're entitled. You're entitled if you think you should get what you want. No. I'm a consumer paying for a product, and if the company that's making the product suddenly decides to not make a product that's geared towards me anymore, I'm not going to play it, I'm not going to buy it, and I'm going to be disappointed in the fact that it was a sudden bait and switch, that, something that I really like to play is suddenly getting, shoved into the garbage can with lighter fluid and throw a fucking match in there, or their cigarette and just wait for it to burn, It's kind of, but quite frankly, it's disgusting. And to be honest, before this video, I had a whole video set up. Like a fake infomercial making fun of video game journalists. And I know I'm a small YouTuber. I know I'm not huge. I'm not famous. That's never been my goal. I just like making content, and I like playing video games, especially MMORPGs, fantasy-based MMORPGs, things like that. Multiplayer games, things like Division, I really liked. But I honestly didn't release the video. I didn't finish the video and release it because I was like, man, if this gained any kind of traction, if this video, offended a game journalist like it would, they could easily dox me if they wanted to. I mean, my face is on YouTube. It probably wouldn't be too hard to track down who I really am. All that bullshit. But they would probably try to dox me. I mean, that's what the political left does. They if you bring up valid points, if you call them any names, if you disagree with anything they say, you're a Nazi, and they're going to do everything they can to make you, lose your job, lose your friends. And that's the ultimate form of tyranny. And I'm going to go on a little history lesson here. If you lived back during the rise of the actual Nazis, people that committed genocide, if you were around during that time, which obviously none of us were, but let's say you're you're in your 20s, and you're right when Nazis are starting to get power. You could say anything you want about Jews, you could make fun of Jews, you could make fun of Americans, you could make fun of the Irish, the British. No one would give a shit. But the second you said something against, poked fun or made a joke about the Nazi party or anything like that, you would never be seen or heard from again. They would censor everything. They would censor the Nazis were censoring the news. They were censoring the media in every single way, shape, and form, and anyone who spoke out against them was gone. Which is why Germans that weren't associated with the Nazi Party, a lot of them were fleeing the country, things like that. And why am I bringing this up? Because if there's ever a group of people or an organization that people are afraid to poke fun at because of what might happen to you. Now, a good example, like the Red Dead Redemption guy. He, made a video of punching a feminist or something on YouTube, and he had his channel taken down, and he was berated and dragged through the coals, and it was just a joke. And if you're afraid for your livelihood, if you're afraid for your reputation, if you're afraid of any of those things, because you're like, if I do this, X party or X group of people are going to come down on me and ruin my life, that's the purest form of tyranny, and those are the real Nazis. Like I said, I don't really like to discuss my personal politics, but I will say I am definitely not part of the far left, and I'm definitely not a part of the far right. I think they both have issues. I would say I'm politically centrist, but with very big and many caveats. The thing is it's funny how everyone who disagrees with the left is a Nazi, is a racist, is a misogynist, is a sexist, is whatever. Yet nobody is afraid to make fun of the Trump administration, to make fun of the right and the super religious right. No one gives a shit. You can make fun of that as openly as you want to on any platform, and nothing will happen to you. No one cares. So clearly, the alt-right aren't actually Nazis, because if they did, they'd have power and they'd silence you. If anything, the alt-left they're the ones that are the Nazis, because people are, cautious. Take precautions before they speak out against them, because of repercussions that may happen because of platforms like social media. Now, I'm not on any social media in my personal life at all. I completely got rid of that quite some time ago. I think it's just fucking cancer. The only social media I have at all is for my YouTube and Twitch. That's it. I don't involve myself in anything else, and 99% of the time I keep my political opinions to myself. But I felt this video needed to be made because it's kind of what's going on with video game journalism right now is kind of the pot calling the kettle black. And no, that's not a racist joke. Look it up. It's very, very much... It's funny, and they don't realize that real gamers... No real gamer gives a shit about what any video game journalist has to say. If a new game comes out and you're interested to see if you might like it and if you might be into it, the last place you go is a place like Kotaku or IGN or Shack News or any of these other places. You just don't do it because their opinion's fucking irrelevant. And the funniest thing too is, like you see in the articles I post here in the video, these fuckers that come out and say these things against a bunch of gamers, calling them all these names. It's, if you take it seriously, it's like being offended if a literal walking piece of shit came up to you and told you that you stink. It's pointless. So this will be my last video I make about the whole thing about BlizzCon and about video game journalism. Who knows, maybe a future video will be about journalism if another debacle like this happens, but I try to avoid it because it's just pathetic and it's sad. But props to the gamers, man. I think we're holding out against this social justice warrior, political correctness bullshit better than most of the industries out there. Most industries cave and just go, okay, just do it, and then people buy their products anyway. But gamers don't. And company stock and companies' loss of money reflects that. But where our biggest problem as gamers is we buy into a lot of bullshit. And now there's a lot of pushback now. It's getting stronger, but the whole microtransaction thing has gone out of control. And it may be too, like I said a long time ago in a video I made like a year ago called "The Video Game Crash is Coming," because it is. it's going to be because of microtransactions and shit like that, not because of political correctness or stuff like that. We're pretty intolerant of allowing that kind of fucking crap into the industry. Because, I mean, I've seen, just from looking at YouTube videos and looking at posts and you know, replies to a lot of these journalists, there are a lot of women on there too. They're like, hey, I'm a woman and I think Diablo Immortal is a fucking terrible idea. And the decision to go mobile and the decision of people's outrage has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with misogyny, has nothing to do with Nazism, it has nothing to do with any of this fucking crap. So, long story short, guys, TLDR, pay no attention to all these video game journalists because they're all bought out, pansy fucking, you know, super politically correct social justice warriors, and they're not even real game reviewers. They're people just pushing their political agenda, and this is a platform for them to do it. That's my opinion. That's my view on it. So anyway, guys, this has been Raziel. I'll have more content for you really soon coming out for FanFest. It's coming up. I'm going to cover that. Catch me on my stream and follow me on Twitter if you're interested, and if you're not, I don't care. But what's your opinion, guys? What do you think of all this bullshit that's been going on and has been kind of showing a lot of people's true colors? And by true people, I mean game companies and the direction they're headed. Because as I said in my last video, Blizzard's dead. It has been for a long time. I mean, Mike Morhaime stepped down now. There's nothing left of the original company there. It's Activision. Activision murdered Blizzard, butt-fucked its corpse, took its, skinned it, and now wears its skin as camouflage. It uses as a disguise. It's Activision now. We all know what EA is like. Ubisoft is, you know, real hit or miss, usually miss, but we'll see. We'll see with my final decision on if Ubisoft's ever going to make anything worth it again. It's when Division 2 comes out. We'll see how that goes. But, yeah, so really ask yourselves in the future, and keep this in mind. If you're ever afraid to say something on a platform because of the backlash you'll receive from a certain group of people, they're the real Nazis, and they're the real, you know, they're tyrants. Trying to censor everything and trying to ruin anyone's life who doesn't agree with them. But I digress, guys. This has been Raziel. I'll have more content for you really soon. As always, keep it real.